it. Is that better?
Hello. Yeah,
Hello.
absolutely. How you been? I haven't seen you in a while.
I've been really good. Life is like pretty good. I love not working at that one place anymore. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Cool.
really a game changer. How have you been?
I've been pretty good. Seattle is definitely my pace. It's been treating me really well, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you like Seattle. I always really want to love it when I go up there, and I like the things that Caleb and I do when we visit. But the way the city's laid out just is not the way my brain works at all, and so I
Yeah.
always get really stressed about that when I'm there.
Cool. Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad to have you on the show. I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you about your shop. You're in Portland, Oregon, and just tell me a little bit about your life right now and who you are.
Okay, well, my name's Emily. I run a online vintage shop called it's called Fruit Stand, but the Instagram handle is Shop Fruit Stand. And it kind of started at first, I got really anxious about, I guess for all intents and purposes, my carbon footprint. And
Uh-huh.
I stopped buying a lot of fast fashion because I did a lot of research, and that was like one of the just like biggest like wasteful things in my life, and I've always
Yeah.
really loved vintage clothing and thrifting. Like I grew up doing that with my mom, and I also got really anxious about how much stuff I have just in general because I love stuff.
Yeah.
And at first it started like my shop started as a way of just like parting with things that I've loved and had like a relationship with, and then like past like finding new homes for it. And in doing so, I could like trade it out for new things that are like more suited to my lifestyle now. And I haven't been spending as much time doing that lately because I do work full time at a tech company.
Right.
But yeah, that's just what I've been doing lately. I was just at a really amazing architectural salvage shop out in Woodburn, Oregon earlier today. And I was like, well, I am obviously going to need to buy a house to put all of my weird
R-
salvaged wooden finds that I want to buy. That's
Cool.
very far in the future, though.
How did you get the idea for this shop? Were you when did it strike you that you wanted to do this online?
I feel like kind of always wanted to own my own business in some way. Whether it be like I remember being younger and like thinking I was going to own a cafe someday, but it kind of like a lot of other people I knew were kind of in similar situations where they just like either had too much stuff or wanted to promote a more sustainable like wardrobe and shopping system, and that's kind of just how it happened. All of a sudden I was like, oh, I could do that too and shrink my closet by half, and that's kind of just how it came to be.
Great. So you're on Instagram, Depop, and also Etsy.
Yeah, I don't update Etsy really at all because they charge a listing fee
Okay.
and it renews every 4 months, which like the listing fee is like 20 cents. So it's not like a huge expenditure or anything, but I
Hmm.
don't really care for that platform. I think it's really, even with like the app they've created, it's not super user friendly.
Yeah.
And that's something like I said, I work at a tech company. Like I do care about like user
Good
experience and stuff
design.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, and they have really cute like animations and stuff, but that only goes so far if your user experience is decent. They also like report directly to the IRS, which I'm kind of like, ooh,
Oh, yeah.
that was not fun tax for this tax season.
What platform is the best you find
I
for
think I've
conducting your business?
honestly had the most success selling just straight through Instagram. It helps that I have a fair number of followers on my personal account,
Hmm.
and apparently people like the clothing that I'm selling and that I've worn in the past, and the homewares that I'm parting with as well. Depop is cool. I definitely feel like I'm too much of an old lady for Depop sometimes because it's mostly like really hip 19-year-olds who are
Okay.
really like they're fresh out of their like high school photography class, so they like really know what they're doing, and I'm just like, hey pal, can you come over so I can take pictures of you in my poorly lit apartment? That's my default style. But
Nice.
it's going well so far. So
Great. And how many sales have you had since launching?
I haven't counted this year, but I launched in like either late October or early November, I think. I don't remember exactly when, but at the end of the year I counted and I had done about 65 to 70 sales. And
Okay.
I was like, that's pretty good, I think. I
Yeah.
don't know how those things work, but it seemed like for not knowing what the hell I'm doing, it seemed okay.
Is there anyone else that's kind of doing what you're doing as far as vintage shopping online?
Yeah, there's a couple people that I really look up to. One of the person I think that was like most inspirational, like kind of in every realm, like sustainability, like using a platform for like something positive. Her Instagram name is Older Ghosts, and she's this really cool girl in like the Boston area. She has like a really cute kid, and her and her husband like both like kind of run their own businesses. But she does like 2 weekly sales, and she's just like killing it. She finds the most amazing stuff, and like also does a lot of like swapping out from her personal collections. Then my friend Kaylin, her shop is called her handle's Shop Stone Pony, and she is based out of Missoula, Montana, and the stuff she finds out there is incredible. She is so good at dating things and mending things and just like takes really cool photos, and she's also an amazing musician, but I feel like those two people are the most inspirational for me, and they're kind of like I think they're quite a bit better at what they're doing than I am because I'm still a noob, but
Right.
they're both really great.
When did you start, out of curiosity?
Actively selling, I think either late October or like somewhere in the November range. I don't remember exactly when.
I got it. Just within the past year.
Yeah.
Nice. As far as like picking things for your shop, what are you looking for?
That's my favorite part actually. It's really hard for me to like go out and look for stuff and not want to keep it all because I like especially I love like 60s and stir stuff specifically from the 60s and 70s, and I really love stuff with like a southwestern flair to it. So when I find something, I always have to like sit on it for a few days and be like, is this for me or am I going to like find this a new home? And my partner is always like, I think you need to find it a new home, in like a very nice and loving way, because we have a lot of, well, I have a lot of stuff. He's more of a minimalist. But yeah, I look for fit, color, like patterns. I really, really love finding union made clothing. As a former union member, like that is
Hmm.
like a very near and dear cause to my heart. And it's always kind of like it's few and far between at this point because it's been so long. But finding the little union tags on, like I have this really amazing 60s skirt that I've been keeping for myself because I still actively wear it. But every time I wear it, I'm like, ooh, this is a union made garment. It's made in America. That's so cool. But those are the kinds of things I tend to look for.
Got it. 60s, 70s, something with a little wet southwestern thing.
Yeah, definitely. I
Cool.
feel
Where
like I really love like the Easy Rider like motorcycle look, and I feel like I'm the biggest poser because I've never rode a motorcycle and I don't ever intend on
but
it.
you got the fashion down pat.
But I love it so much. It's like such a solid look.
Cool. Where are you keeping your inventory?
That's a good question. We're really lucky. The apartment we live in right now each unit has its own little basement space. And we bought like I bought a couple big plastic storage tubs. So I keep everything in there. And then I haven't updated it in a while, but I have a pretty in-depth spreadsheet of everything, so I can like mark it when it gets sold and like what my profit was from that, and also like put money aside for taxes. Um, but yeah, so most of the stuff is in the basement right now. With some of the homeware stuff, sometimes I'll put it in my apartment until it sells, just because it's cute. and it fits
Hmm.
the vibe that we're trying to go
Yeah.
for. But for the most part, like I fold it really nicely after it's been washed and mended if it needs mending, and then it goes into a storage tub.
Nice. And how much do you have on hand as far as like inventory stock? I know it's hard to gauge, but maybe like monetary worth or just
Um,
volume, units.
I haven't gone like picking in a while just because it's hard to coordinate with work.
Hmm.
But I would say like right now, just with some of the things I have, I probably have about $300 worth of stuff in my basement right now. That's not what I've spent personally, but knowing what things are worth, like old Levi's and like Gunny Sacks
Right.
dresses and stuff, that's like probably about what I have right now, maybe a little bit more.
What, speaking of like old Levi's are wild to find. I
Yeah,
know
that's
just in Portland in general, there is so much good thrift and vintage clothing in the city.
yeah.
I don't know why that is, but like I was working in fashion previously for like a year, and the stuff people would find in Portland thrift shops is mind blowing.
It's really incredible here. There's definitely a lot of competition in terms of finding stuff for your own shop because everything, like all the Goodwills here, are so picked over, and like the other
Hmm.
like cheaper thrift stores where they aren't necessarily pricing things on like how old it is and how valuable it is. What I've been like I've had the most luck going out to like Hillsboro, and I had a really successful like I was in Tacoma for family stuff and then happened to go to the bins out there and found like a bunch of made in America Levi's, which are getting harder and harder to come
Right.
by. But yeah, Portland, I think something about this city just like tends to draw those kinds of people. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's some of the more interesting or your favorite finds that you've encountered?
My favorite thing that I've found that I don't have plans to sell anytime soon was this beautiful made in San Francisco Jessica McClintock Gunny Sacks dress. It's like this really like light pink. It's like the perfect like modern prairie dress. I haven't yet to wear it out in public because I'm afraid it'll get ruined. And
Right.
it does need some mending, but right now we're using it as a decoration in our bedroom. I have it hanging off my closet, and it's just such a beautiful, like rare find because they haven't been in production since I think the early 80s. And I just love thinking about it. It's like almost a conquest at this point when I find a good one, and they're also like microscopic sizing. So finding one like I would say I'm a pretty average sized person. Finding one that like fits like not a double size zero is
Yeah.
really rare. Other than that, another thing that I'm not selling, I found my partner like a 70s Sherpa Levi's jacket for Christmas a few years ago, and I
That's awesome.
definitely love to borrow that. So that's one of my favorite finds too, for sure.
Very cool. As far as your customers, who's buying from your shop?
When I first started, I was still working at Powell's when I started. So when I first started selling things, a lot of it was from people I worked with, which made delivering orders a lot easier because I didn't have
Yeah,
to go to the
just
post
hand it
office
off.
or like inter-office mail. I miss that sometimes. But the more I've grown, the more I notice I have a lot of customers in Southern California, at least from Depop. I don't know where that correlation is coming from
Hmm.
necessarily, and a lot of East Coast people. As far as people buying from Instagram, it really varies. Like I definitely have some repeat customers, and I appreciate them so much.
They're key. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like thank you. But yeah, it's kind of all over the place. It's really cool. Just like whenever I make a shipping label or like drop something off at the post office, being like, wow, this is going to like Florida or this is going to Arizona. That's so cool.
Nice. As far as like balancing it with your day job, this seems like it's a solid, like profitable hobby that you have going. Would you say that's accurate?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely like I think I broke even as far as like last year goes like pretty quickly. Especially since so much of my stock is just coming from straight from my wardrobe as I like switch things out. but yeah, it's definitely like I've been calling it my side hustle, and I feel really comfortable saying that just because like it does make a fair amount of money. Like I've been able to pay for like most of my recent tattoos with like
Wow.
a little bit of, or at least my deposits for the tattoos, because it just goes straight from my PayPal account to my tattoo artist's
Right.
PayPal
Yeah.
account. And that's been really nice. Like used a chunk of what I made last year on Christmas presents and stuff, so that definitely made it a lot easier.
What's the hardest part of running the side hustle, would you say?
Definitely making time for it. It takes
Mm,
a lot of time to size things and measure things and shoot photos. Like if I don't have a like one of my friends come over to like model stuff, then it's like my partner taking pictures of me modeling stuff, and that's taking time out of his day. He's also, I love him so much, but he is not good at taking photos of like actual people. Cool type on the sidewalk, excellent, but not pictures of people. So that's, I think that's definitely the hardest part, just like making the time for it.
what would be the ideal scale of your business?
Well, I don't know if this really answers your question, but like the
Hmm.
dream is to eventually like open a physical shop.
Okay, cool.
Not necessarily in Portland proper, because I think there are enough really amazing vintage shops, but like I feel like my favorite shops are when I'm like en route. Like we went to Missoula last summer, and like there were like some amazing antique and vintage stores just on the way. And I feel like I would love to like have like a roadside store somewhere where people are going to see it, obviously, but then have a really active online presence. But that's
Where,
like my ultimate.
yeah, do you imagine that being? Like that seems like it would be in the middle of nowhere.
I know that's the problem. It's like
Uh-huh.
it's like I'm 50%. Like part of me wants to stay in a city, and the other half is like live in a homestead in the middle of, not necessarily Montana, but like somewhere like Colorado or Arizona or something. Just where I can kind of like retreat from people and not have to deal with
Right.
people as much.
A
And
little bit calmer pace.
yeah, absolutely. I think ideally would be finding a place where like you drive for 40 minutes and then you're in the city. I just don't know where that is. I don't see myself staying in Oregon for like a whole lot longer. A whole lot longer meaning like more than 5 years. Just because at some point I do want to buy a house, and property's so expensive here. Like I don't know how anyone does it. But yeah,
Does your tech job influence how you run your shop at all, do you think? Or they're so
honestly,
different?
they're
Yeah.
so different. Like the
Yeah.
place I'm working at does 3D visualization interior design, and I was like, this is really cool. This is absolutely not my wheelhouse. So,
Right.
like, no, not at all. I think
Good to
if
know.
any, if anything, I value the way that they're like the company's marketing team works, and like how good they are at having like a vibrant and active social media presence. Like they're really on top of like responding to like when influencers reach out and things like that. And that's really inspiring for me as like someone who uses Instagram to like
Do
advertise my
everything.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And use it for everything actually. Yeah.
That's also what I was interested in, and part of the reason I was so excited when I saw that you had this shop is it's a vintage store on Instagram, and that feels like very obvious as far as like, of course this should be great. Why isn't anyone else doing this? And I also love that yours is Portland, Oregon based, which I imagine too is super cool in my opinion. Be like, this is a Portland based vintage shop that I can purchase from and have the thrift store experience
And you
elsewhere.
don't have to go to the thrift store. Like someone else has
Right.
already done the heavy lifting for you. I think that's probably why the online vintage community is doing as well as it is, because not everyone does have hours to comb through like racks and racks of smelly old t-shirts, which
Yeah.
I don't have as much time to do that as I would like either, but I definitely like understand where that's coming from, and like why so many people like flock to vintage stores.
Yeah. I think the experience that you're providing is really, it's honestly really cool. I think, and
Thank you.
I would hope that you have huge success in this sphere. As far
Well,
as uh, like operational stuff, has shipping been easy for you? I know that with online retailers, shipping and returns is kind of the biggest pain.
yeah, I don't people can't return stuff.
Right,
All my sales are final. There was one weird thing with a Depop sale where I did allow someone to return something, and I turned around next day and sold all three of the things they had bought to someone else, so it was fine. But I think I really encourage people who want to buy from me to ask as many questions. I'm a big fan of informed buying. So like if, especially with like jeans and stuff, just because it's so hit or miss with vintage denim, like if people need extra measurements from me or like want to know like how it's going to sit on an actual human body, like I really want people to feel comfortable reaching out to me and asking that, so I don't have to deal with returns and they don't have to deal with
hmm
like being excited for a week while it's in like transit and then be disappointed, because I've been in that situation before and it sucks. But shipping is that kind of like leads into just not having enough time,
right,
because most post offices close at 5:30, and if you're getting out of the office at 5, you have to like jet on over to the post office. And like when I work downtown and so I don't drive to work,
right.
and the closest post office is like across downtown from me and it's closed by the time I get there. So really that just leaves Saturdays to go to the post office, and that's
Yeah,
like since
just
starting this
timing.
job, that yeah, that's been the hardest
Yeah.
part, I think. I actually have some outstanding orders I forgot to send out yesterday. But yeah.
For your, you said you took a trip to Missoula and managed to go to a bunch of vintage shops on the way there.
Yeah.
Which ones were your favorites, or what did you know? What did you really like about that experience? Because you said you stopped at a couple that you thought were really cool.
I don't remember exactly what they were called. On
Okay,
the recommendation of my friend Kaylin, who lives in Missoula, we stopped in this really amazing little town called Coeur d'Alene in Idaho, and basically the whole town is just like really well curated vintage and thrift stores. And I walked away with just it was a good thing that we were driving and not flying, because we walked away with so much crap, like
yeah,
just like bags of stuff. I wish I knew or I remembered specifically what the stores were called so I could give them a proper shout out, but Coeur d'Alene, Idaho is like where it's at if you're wanting like well curated like thrift and antique goods.
how like how can you tell when something's really well curated? Because I feel like it's a skill that kind of some people have and some people don't.
That's a hard one to answer because everyone's so different.
Yeah,
For me, it's like when you have a good array of things that all kind of fit together. So like I really like old coffee tins and like I guess like for lack of a better term like heritage antiques, like stuff like that. Like very very old things but then mixed with like new things, but they all kind of like have a cohesive like either color scheme or like just I don't know how to describe it. Like you feel like you're in a Lana Del Rey video or something like
right. When
that.
everything stylistically makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And I think there are ways to have things from like the 1930s and like the 1980s in the same space and not have it look really jarring. I don't know that I've figured out how to do that yet, but I know that it's possible. You might just have to be really like transparent and be like, this is from the 1930s and that one's from the 1980s. Yeah, that's kind of why I've chosen like the 60s and 70s as like my main wheelhouse, because fashion it's changed a lot since then, but it's still easy to like change, or like if you're selling like a pair of jeans from the 70s, you can still be like, here's a 90s top to like tuck
Right.
into these 70s jeans or something like that.
For other folks who are looking to like start online retail shops, what's some of the the main lessons that you learned or advice that you have for anyone who's trying to do what you're doing?
Document everything, like
Mm,
save your receipts when you're like going out picking, not necessarily for like tax reasons, but just to kind of keep track of like profit metrics. Like it's all fine and dandy if you're just like, you know, selling willy-nilly, but like if
Right.
you're actively trying to like run a little business, like I think it's really important to either have a spreadsheet or use QuickBooks or something like that, just so you know, like, should I spend $100 on this coat to resell? Like, am I making enough profit to like justify that kind of
Right.
expenditure? Like things like that. I just think like I wasn't doing that at first, and then I don't remember who it was, but someone was like, "You don't use Excel?" And I still don't. I use whatever the Apple version of it is, but
Right.
same thing. It has made my life so much easier, and it just gives you a little bit. Like I have a lot of things that make me anxious, and not knowing what's going on is one of them, and that's just like helped me. So I would just say like, yeah, document everything.
Cool. And for the
Yeah.
next couple months or the rest of the year, what plans you got for your shop?
Well, I have a bunch of stuff I've been sitting on that, like, every time I've gone to go make a shop update, we have like an older cat, and she's been having some health issues lately.
Donna.
Donna, she's right behind me. I don't know if you
Oh,
can see her through the screen. Hi,
there
Donna.
she is.
There she
I
is.
love seeing her on your Instagram stories. She's an MVP.
She is such a lovely part of my life, but she's had a lot of health issues lately, and for some reason, I guess we're lucky because we both have weekends off, but all of the stuff has kind of manifested at its high point on the weekends, so I just have been spending all of my free time taking care of her.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm going to do a couple shop updates. I have some really cool old Playboy magazines and really cool old Easy Riders magazines that people have expressed interest in, so I want to post those once I've done like a recon of how much I should be like charging for those kinds of
Right.
things. I have some clothing that I need to post. But then in July, Caleb and I are driving through. We're going to like the Four Corners area, and we're going to be spending most of our time in Utah. And like we're going to dip into New Mexico and Colorado if we can swing it time wise. But I'm really looking forward to just like stopping in like Salt Lake City
Yeah,
and
that
like,
sounds like so much fun. It's an
yeah.
adventure and a hunt.
Yeah, and that's the way I just love doing that so much. Like anytime I can get out of where I'm comfortable and like find beautiful, amazing things, that's like my favorite thing to do. And going to like the national parks while I'm at it, because that's like our
Right.
real mission. I keep forgetting that, like that's what I should be talking about, but I'm like, oh, but I'll be finding these cool boots at so and so and like things like that. But I'm really excited about that, and just like seeing all the beautiful like southwestern art and like culture and everything. Like I love that part of the country so much, so I'm excited to go do some thrifting around there.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Well, I'm excited. I hope that we get to see some documentation of that trip when it happens.
absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm going to keep an eye on your shop for all those who watch Shop Fruit Stand on Instagram and Depop and Etsy if you that's not updated.
There's still stuff on there, but I
Right.
just haven't posted anything new in a while.
Fair. Cool. Well, thanks for chatting with me.
Thank you
I
for
hope
having
that you have
me.
a good Sunday. I think we both have very good weather, so I think we're going to go enjoy it.
I'm sitting outside right now. It's so lovely.
Nice. All right. Well, take it easy, and thanks
You
again for your time.
too.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye everyone. Bye everyone. Bye everyone.